Hey gamers, Damon here. What you're about to watch is a remastered compilation of my 3 most viewed Captain Underpants YouTube videos. Those being every Captain Underpants book ranked, why the Captain Underpants movie is an underrated gem, and every episode of the Captain Underpants show ranked. All remastered and copyright free, so I can earn money off of them. I'm currently making my Dogman video essay, and it's gonna take a while to make, so I hope you enjoyed this in the meantime. All the original videos are linked in the description. And keep in mind, these videos don't have the best audio mixing because they're over 2 years old. And if you're new to the channel, I encourage you to check out my newer content. I've made plenty of other videos on the Captain Underpants books and the Dogman series, so if you enjoy this video, please consider subscribing and watch my other videos. And I'll also be making a similar compilation for my Dogman videos in due time. So with all that aside, I hope you enjoyed this video.
Huh?
Oh hey, didn't see you there. You just caught me reading every single Captain Underpants book in full color. Yeah, that's right. I have no life. I'm a big Captain Underpants fan. Could you tell?
Oh no, he's crap again!
I loved these books as a kid, and they were massive parts of my childhood. This would be one of the only book series I would read as a kid. I would read these books every day after visiting my school's media center. Every time I would go, I would come back with 2 Captain Underpants books. And I loved them. They were funny, they were creative, and they personally inspired me to be as creative and as fun as I wanted. And because of these books, I started to write, and I started to draw and make comics, and would eventually become the YouTube channel you're watching now. So yeah, these books mean a lot to me. And on top of that, these books are really good rereading. A common misconception about these books is that they're nothing but garbage. But you are in fact wrong, because these books are shockingly smart and funny. So, with all this in mind, let's rank every single Captain Underpants book. That's right, you heard it. I'm gonna rank every single Captain Underpants book. This is a very difficult challenge. I have no clue how I'm going to rank books, but I'm gonna find some way to do it. And keep in mind, it is really difficult to rank these books as all of them are good. Why else do you think no one else has done this before? And of course, anyone's opinion is valid, but everything I say is facts, so yeah, let's get a move on and let's rank these books. In 12th place, we have Captain Underpants and the Invasion of the Incredibly Naughty Cafeteria Ladies from Outer Space and the Subsequent Assault of the Equally Evil Lunchroom Zombie Nerds. God, that is a long title! Funny story about this book. In English class one day, we were reading Mockingbird, which freaking sucks! My English teacher was all like, okay class, bring out your To Kill a Mockingbird books. But instead, I pulled out this book, and my teacher was all like, excuse me, that's not To Kill a Mockingbird. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm reading Captain Underpants and the Invasion of the Incredible Naughty Cafeteria Ladies from Outer Space and the Subsequent Assaults of the Equally Evil. The funny thing was, I was wearing a Spider-Man mask and my teacher didn't even notice. I don't know, I just think this is my least favorite book in the series. I mean, the only thing that really happens in it is that Captain Underpants gets superpowers. It's still a banger book though. I love the large amount of villains in this one. However, the Cafeteria Ladies, even as a try-hard Captain Underpants fan, I do not remember their names. But yeah, I like the Evil Dandelion, I like the Lunchroom Zombie Nerds, I like the stuff that they have with the milk. I also really love the theme of like lunch food, because let's be fully honest, what the hell is up with those food? Also like how in the beginning George and Harold just basically drive their science teacher into insanity. What amazing children! And it's still very funny, like this part where a bunch of green goo covers up the text for the page. And also this page where it's like Captain Underpants dies. Still a banger book.
Can I have cheeseburger, please?
Number 11, The Adventures of Captain Underpants. The very first book. People born in 1997 were so blessed. It has the same problem as the last book I mentioned. It just has the least to offer, but it's still a very, very solid book. I mean, it's the first book in the series. I have mad respect for it. It is weird rereading it though. Like, yeah, that is some child labor. And the art style does look weird looking back. And I will have to be honest, Dr. Diaper is such a mid-villain. Like, he just tries to but still, it's still an incredibly solid book. Nice introduction to all these characters like George and Harold, Mr. Krupp. That son of a bitch! That man gets 0.
Baba Booey.
And yeah, it's still very funny.
Oh, you nasty ass
started a lot of jokes that appear throughout the series, like the "Remember That Now" and the "Oh no, here we go again." George and Harold switching up the letters in the sign, the little kid and his mom, and the joke that the school's football team is Purple Dragon sing-along friends.
No, don't pull! No! Ah!
And of course, this book introduced the iconic catchphrase,
Tra-la-la!
What the hell?
but yeah, it's an incredibly solid book and a great way to start this incredible series.
Monkey!
Number 10, Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Yeah, I literally just put the first 3 books in the bottom 3. But this book is a certified classic and is definitely one of the best sequels ever made. This book has so many iconic elements in it, like Melvin, that son of a bitch, the living nerd emoji,
What's so funny? I don't get it.
the invention convention, and also probably the most iconic villains in the series, the talking toilets. I'm not gonna lie, I think the way that they're defeated is very lame. Like, just by throwing cafeteria food out at them. I wanted to see 4th graders beat up a toilet. But the book makes up for that for being incredibly funny and very iconic. The urinal joke is comedy gold. Like the Turbo Toilet 2000, what a badass, awesome villain. And this is also the book that contained the "Come See My Hairy Armpits" line.
So can either of you explain why it now reads...
Number 9, Captain Underpants and the Sensational Saga of Sir Stinks-A-Lot. From this point on, every book from here is an 8 out of 10 or higher. I put this book in very high regards, because this is an amazing finale to the Captain Underpants series. In a world where some book series will just go on and will refuse to die, I have so much respect for this book for not only ending the series, but also just being a very good finale. It wraps up every single loose end you could ever think of. The Captain Underpants curse is finally defeated, we get to see George and Harold in the future, and overall, I just think this book has some good writing. Like the very beginning of the book talking crap about adults and saying how, yeah, people are stupid, which is very, very true. Also the way the smart planet explodes coming back in the finale. Also the whole theme with ADHD. And me as someone with ADHD, I love that so much. The climax is pretty good with like Mr. Meteor becoming a big green goo thing and becoming like the strongest villain we've ever seen in the series. It's a great way to end this entire series. But I don't know, Mr. Meteor doesn't scream the last villain in Captain Underpants. It's still a great book. And yeah, I just think this is an incredible finale to the Captain Underpants series. Also, apparently this book in the series was specifically banned for what reason? Hey people!
Oh my god.
Number 8, Captain Underpants and the Tyrannical Return of the Turbo Toilet 2000. That's right, the Turbo Toilet 2000 is back. And it's amazing to see him back again, especially because it was built up from the series. Yeah, I just love the idea of this book. However, I do think he spends a lot of time with Melvin. And what he was doing with the past few books. It's good for context, but I just wish I saw more action with Turbo Toilet 2000. Which, when he does, the entire climax is amazing. He's so much more threatening than he was in his first appearance. But yeah, this book is still very solid. However, I do think it's a little bit mean seeing George and Harold like struggle to get their grade back up after they skip 2 days of school. Like, I don't know, that's just kind of sad. But the book still stays jolly and happy when they see the yesterday George and Harold, which was a weird decision, but it's not that bad. Also, the glow squid is pretty cool, and I also like the comments that they make with Super Cracker Baby. And also, I really like the Crackers and Sulu. They're pretty cool looking. Also, yeah, that is some naked people. But yeah, this is still an incredibly solid book. I just had to put it right here. Also, Melvin gets a note that's signed by Joe Biden. Number 7, Captain Underpants and the Big Bad Battle of the Bionic Booger Boy Part 1, Night of the Living Nostril Nuggets. I just think that this is an incredible book. There's a reason why they split into 2 parts. It's a great book that has a really nice focus on Melvin.
Excuse me, could you explain to me why this is funny?
This book also introduced Sulu, the bionic hamster, and he is very cute. Also, I really like the comic that George and Harold makes this one. It was one of my personal favorites. Also, the squishies in this book are iconic. Like, I actually did this in school, and they do actually work. Hi, I'm gonna demonstrate the squishies featured in Captain Underpants and the Big Bad Battle of the Bionic Booger Boy Parts 1 and 2. They worked. Also, the big bad battle is actually pretty cool. Like, dang, Captain Underpants is getting it. I see. And Booger Boy is just an iconic villain. How can I not forget? But I cannot give it the 9 out of 10 it probably deserves because I'll always associate this book with coming home from lunch and seeing this. Number 6, Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopy Pants. These are books that I would rank 9 out of 10 or higher, and this is a great start to the top half of this list. This book is just iconic. It has Professor Poopy Pants, the best villain in the series. He's so smart with all his gadgets and everything, and his rise to evil is so motivating. Like, yeah, he's irritated by people laughing at him because I really like the prank that George and Harold do in the beginning of this book. This book has so much iconic parts in it, like the ginormous hot dog, the ginormous finger, also the iconic name chart. Did anyone else look at that as a kid? My name is Gidget Gigglehead. What's yours? Comment down below. This book also has my personal favorite Book-O-Rama. Like, look. And I don't know, this book is just iconic, and I think it has a great message about name calling too, and why you shouldn't make fun of my name. My last name isn't Coochie. Number 5, Captain Underpants and the Terrifying Return of Tippy Twinkle Trousers. After a 6-year break between book 8 to this book, was the wait worth it? Yes. This is the longest book in the series, being 300 pages. That's right, it's longer than The Kill the Mockingbird. Suck it! The only problem with this one is that it doesn't really add much to the story. We're not seeing anything new, we're mainly seeing backstory for why the ending of book 8 happened, and also an even bigger backstory of George and Harold's childhood. I'm not gonna lie when I say that that story is legit amazing. It is so heartwarming to see George and Harold meet for the first time in kindergarten and them slowly bond to go take down a bunch of bullies. Like, that's so freaking heartwarming and so fun. And it's probably the best story that we have ever read in the Captain Underpants book. In the beginning and end with Tippy Twinkle Trousers, it's great to see him again. He's the best villain in the series. One thing I will nitpick though is that these bullies are not 6th graders. When I was in 6th grade, I looked like this and made sock puppet videos and couldn't open a pickle jar. And I still can't! Yeah, this is such a great book, honestly, and definitely is deserving of the wait and the big lump.
This is my kingdom come, this is my kingdom come. Can you feel my heat? Look into my eyes.
Number 4, Captain Underpants and the Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman. What another banger! I just personally love Wedgie Woman in this. She's such a big threat and one of the most iconic Captain Underpants villains. I also think the setup is incredibly funny and great. Like, seeing them set up Mr. Cup to get married to Miss Ribble is pretty funny. And the marriage in general is just very funny, just seeing Miss Ribble snap and just ruin the entire wedding. No! And she even makes a bunch of George and Harold robots. Also, the part where the kickball rips through the page is very funny. The Captain Underpants gets his beat. Also, really love the origin story comic that we get for Captain Underpants. Also, I'm not gonna lie though, the Hypno Ring just suddenly doing the opposite on women, that's kind of but I don't really care. This is such a great book. Also, oh my goodness, look, they're bald! These last 3 books are some of the best pieces of fiction I ever read and are all 10 out of 10 classics. Number 3, Captain Underpants and the Preposterous Plight of the Purple Potty People. I love stories that deal with alternate realities, and this one is no different. The attention to detail that they do with the opposite world is really great, and just the threat of evil George and Harold and Captain Blunderpants is great. Like, they even make Sulu a big ginormous monster, and they're very smart and they try to frame George and Harold. It's also incredibly funny, like when George and Harold read the comic by their evil selves, also setting up the big battle of Captain Underpants and Captain Blunderpants only for them to snap their fingers and then the fight seems like they won. Like, that's a good joke, even though I would love to actually see them fight. Like how in the beginning they also talk crap about adults and how they can be kind of whack sometimes, and also reverse psychology, that's also really good. I don't know, man, this book is such a banger. I also like the thing they do with George and Harold's grandparents, even though it traumatized me. Number Number 2, Captain Underpants and the Big Bad Battle of the Bionic Booger Boy Part 2 and the Attack of the Ridiculous Robo Boogers. This is the first Captain Underpants book I ever read, and it holds up so damn well. The Robo Boogers are legit amazing, like their amazing name, Carl, Trixie, and Franken Booger. Amazing names, one of the best villains ever made. I do think that they're gone a little bit too long from the story, but that's because they get shot into outer space and invade Poopsie. But even at that, at least a great conflict with George and Harold having to deal with Melvin and Mr. Cup switching bodies. Like Melvin, Captain Underpants is very funny. Damn, I would beat the shit out of that little kid if he broke my skateboard. This movie's very iconic.
What? Tripped and fell in the back of McDonald's? Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
I love the comic that they make in the middle. They also make the purple potty, and we see Crackers, the pterodactyl. I love the time travel shenanigans that George and Harold have. I also love how the squishies come back as a way to defeat the boogers. That's nice. And of course, this book has the Captain Underpants. Dang, this book is so good, but it's not amazing. And the moment you've all been waiting for. The number 1 best Captain Underpants book is Captain Underpants and the Revolting Revenge of the Radioactive Robo-Boxers. This book might just be the best book I have ever read. This book has it all. Amazing villain. So amazing that they had to bring 2 other versions of him for this book. The stakes moved up to the max. There's a bomb that will literally destroy the entire planet. And is only saved by Crackers and Sulu sacrificing themselves. I definitely didn't cry while reading. This book also contains time travel shenanigans where they go to the prehistoric age and also the future for a brief period where we see George and Harold as grumpy adults, which is also great development for George and Harold. We finally figure out what killed the dinosaurs. What the fuck? And what caused the Ice Age.
What's up, my mammals?
How cave drawings happened. What started the Big Bang.
Bazinga!
This book is also very well written, with the beginning having meta commentary on how adults see this whole series. Secrets to the Universe, like I said. And also very funny comedy with the slapstick with the caveman. Also one of my favorite background details in any Captain Underpants book. I hope this food doesn't kill me. That's such a great joke. Literally everything in this book is amazing and is personally the best book ever made. Suck it to Kill a Mockingbird! Well, that's every single Captain Underpants book ranked. I hope you enjoyed this video, and now I'm going to pass out. Tra-la-la. I never have to review anything Captain Underpants related ever again. Next time, baby. Alright, let's see what videos I gotta make. Talk about Norman the North 3 times? Check. Talk about Mater's Tall Tales? Check. Make a video about Food Fight? Yeah. Review every single Spider-Man movie? Yup. Cars 2? Talk about Captain Underpants and the first epic movie. Welp, today's the day. Today's the day we finally talk about Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. This is a very anticipated video on my channel. You know how much I love Captain Underpants. You know that I like this movie. You know how much this means to me. Without these books, I wouldn't exist. And you know that I like this movie just a little bit. But I'm not just saying that because I'm a biased fan. Oh no, no, no. I'm saying this because I actually believe this is a truly underrated and underlooked film. This is a generally well-liked movie, but I see nobody talk about it. It's criminal! And whenever it is, it's not as talked to the extent as it probably should be. But I do. And who better to talk about the Captain Underpants movie than the #1 Captain Underpants fan? Plus, you learn a thing or two after watching this more than 10 times. So today, not only am I going to talk about why I love this movie so much, but why it's so good. and one of the best adaptations ever. But first, we must have the generic segment where Damon talks about the background of a subject he's about to talk about. Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, is a 2017 computer animated film by DreamWorks Animation based off the book series by the same name. Starring Kevin Hart, Ed Helms, Thomas Middleditch, Nick Kroll, and directed by David Soren, who previously directed Turbo. You know, that one movie about the fast snail. You're telling me that this man directed The Second Coming of Christ twice? Plans to adapt Captain Underpants go all the way back to when the first books were released in the 1990s. These books were a hot ticket item. There were several plans to adapt the books into TV shows, movies, and video games.
Holy crap, I'm in Fortnite!
But nothing took off, mainly because Dad Pokey just didn't want to. And thank God he didn't, because most of these were gonna be in live action, and I don't think any of us want to see these characters in live action. But DreamWorks really wanted to make a film. So bad, in fact, they took Dad Pokey on a tour of the studio with everyone wearing their underwear. But hey, it worked, because they finally got the rights in 2011. Due to DreamWorks not being in the best shape at the time, the animation was outsourced to Micro's Image in Canada, who recently made that one new bad SpongeBob movie. This was done to give the film a relatively low budget of $38 million, which is shockingly lower than Food Fight. This was also done to give the film a more stylized look and appearance of the books. It's also an example of more stylized 3D animation, along with the Peanuts movie that came out in 2015, and got popularized by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and now is present in films such as The Bad Guys and Mitchell's vs. the Machines. So basically what I'm saying is, Captain Underpants walked so Spider-Verse could run. The film released on June 2nd, 2017, and received pretty positive reviews, with an 87 on Rotten Tomatoes. Damn, rare Rotten Tomatoes W! But it was just generally received as okay. I know, that's criminal! The film didn't get nominated for much awards, probably because no one wants to nominate a film called Captain Underpants, but they're just uncultured. However, it is pretty insulting when the Oscars nominated The Boss Baby and not Captain Underpants. Whatever, it doesn't matter though, Coco won anyways. And it did alright at the box office, making a total of $25.5 million, which isn't that bad on a $38 million budget. However, it came out the same opening weekend as Wonder Woman. It placed second. Despite the film being generally overlooked, it still had a cult following, and even spawned a series on Netflix titled The Epic Tales of Captain Underpants, which ran for 4 seasons and 3 specials, with the last being released on December 2020. And we got nothing since, but it's best to say that the show ran its course. Or Netflix quietly canceled it, because we just know how much Netflix loves animation. And before anyone asks, yes, I watched the show. What type of madman would I be if I didn't? And I might as well talk about it. Oh boy, here we go. Damon's thoughts on the Captain Underpants show. It's alright. I like it. It's not great. It's a bit too obnoxious, and some of the new characters are kind of annoying, but it's still good enough. It still keeps that spirit alive, and it's pretty funny from time to time. The best character is probably Melvin. It's a solid show. I don't love it. I don't have much to talk about. I give it a light 8 to strong 7. If this video gets 1,000 views, I'll rank and review every single episode of the Captain Underpants show. Do it. Also in December 2020, DreamWorks announced a Dogman movie. The spin-off
What the dog doing?
Dogman, the musical!
And you bet your ass I'm gonna review it when it comes out. However, we sadly have no announcement of a sequel. And sadly, DreamWorks is not responding to my emails. And my personal attachment with this movie is definitely something that exists. Of course I saw this movie. I saw it opening day. Here's a picture. And of course I loved it very much. It has an own personal attachment to me. However, as I grew older, unlike most films that I remember loving as a kid, I still love it as much as I did when I was younger. Probably even more now. And that's shocking. But there's a reason for it, and I'm gonna tell you why in this banger of a YouTube video. And I love to talk about that, but I kinda gotta talk about other things first. So, you guys know what adaptations are, right? Adaptations, they definitely exist. Adaptations are everywhere, and especially in film. They're there for when Hollywood is uncreative to make something original. There are adaptations of literally everything, but mainly books. And every time, it's always a gamble. Sometimes an adaptation can be great, and then the next month, there will be a terrible one. But what makes a good adaptation? Well, there's two factors to remember. Being a good adaptation and being a good movie. There's a clear difference. Being a good movie is just being good. But being a good adaptation means that you can be a good movie and respectful for the source material. Of course, changes are bound to be made when adapting something into a movie, but it depends on how much changes are made and how much does it ruin the image of what's being adapted. To see what I mean, let's talk about a bad adaptation. Let's look at a bad adaptation of something that I also care about that released in 2017. The Lego Ninjago movie.
Oh no! I'm moving to take this. Say hop out of bed, rock out again. Hop out of bed, rock out again. Hop out of bed, rock out again. Hop out of bed, rock.
Honestly, I could talk about this movie at a later date, and I plan to when I review the entirety of Ninjago. But let's just say, it's an okay movie. It's funny enough, the animation looks pretty, the voice acting's nice, and Garmadon, I actually really like Garmadon.
Do you think you're hiding right now? Do you actually think I can't see you?
Well, if you can see me, why don't you shoot me? Ow! That was like in my kidney!
But as an adaptation of the show, it's not good. For one, this movie's way more comedic. I understand though, it's one of the Lego movies. And they don't really take the property seriously at all. And they just do nothing with it. Almost every Psy Ninja has no personality. They barely put anything from the show in there. They don't even have Spinjitzu. Garmadon has a whole army of sharks. Why didn't they make it snake? They had this ginormous cat. Why didn't they make it a snake? Come on. It's really so easy. Probably would have made the themes better. Lloyd doesn't even have his powers. He has the power of green.
Green.
That was the one thing I thought they wouldn't ruin. And they f***ed it just like they f***ed Loser Book. You mean Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
I don't care!
Yeah, the movie's just painfully A lot of the film's problems would probably be better if it was more faithful to the source material. But hey, I wouldn't know. But I know this. As an overall movie, it's okay. But as an adaptation of Ninjago, it's not really good. Basically resulting in a mid-movie. But you see what I mean? But let's talk about book adaptations for a second. And they're even more weird. There are a lot of bad book adaptations.
Please welcome
Me! I'm so excited! I'll get you.
Especially ones of children's books. For example, The Lorax. Ah yes, a movie based off a book that talks about how bad companies are and how greedy they can be and how to take care of the environment. Made by the people who made the Minions! I mean, they gave us Mr. O'Hare though. A small price to pay for salvation. But yeah, there are tons of examples like that. But also, there are tons of other good book adaptations out there.
I think you're the nicest guy I've ever dated.
You know who that is? Oh, that's actually hilarious.
Like Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Roderick, can you explain what you're doing in this photo?
That's not me.
That's not you?
Nope.
Baby, baby.
Let's go, baby hippo!
Mwah, chef's kiss. But yeah, book adaptations are always mixed. But how does Captain Underpants fit in all of this? Well, simply just because I think this movie is an absolutely perfect adaptation. Here's why. The Captain Underpants movie is probably the most faithful adaptations I have ever seen. I mean, when you're making a film based off of Captain Underpants, you might as well go all out. And this film goes above and beyond by not only being a good adaptation, but a great movie on its own. One of the greatest things about this movie is how it's able to capture the spirit of the books. They did it flawlessly. They didn't try to modernize Captain Underpants. They didn't make George and Harold do the gritty. They kept it the same goofy tone as the books usually do. Like, it would have been weird if it didn't. Like, what if it was just like Breaking Bad?
George, Harold, we gotta cook the meth.
Hey, Mr. Crump.
Then I go.
But what they managed to pull off was beautiful, and I give all props to the writers. One thing that this book was able to replicate is the structure of a Captain Underpants book. It's really not that deep. Here, let me tell you. The books usually start off with a comic book by George and Harold. They switch up letters and a sign. They cause a school prank, which usually kicks off conflict. They make a comic that usually angers a school teacher, who later becomes a villain. It ends with a big battle with them winning at the end in a silly, quick way. Then it ends on a not really good ending. As you can see by the footage I just showed, this movie has that exact same structure. They found a way to make that structure fit perfectly in a movie. It feels like you're reading a book, but you're not. They literally had a flip-o-rama scene. That's how much they care! Speaking of which, the animation is also really good and helps it become a good adaptation. It's made to replicate the style of the books, and it does it so well. The designs fit very well in 3D and fit well with the environment. And there's tons of things in the backgrounds, whether it be references to characters and things in the books, or just little gags. There's so much where almost every time I watch it, I always find something new. And the film is also written in a really good way, and similar to how the books usually do things. The film also perfectly replicates the book's humor. You see, Captain Underpants' humor is very unique.
Hey, Captain Underpants, guess what? Get fished!
You expect it just to be a bunch of farts, but it's really more than that. There's a science behind it. The jokes aren't just, oh, no, it's usually a distraction of a gag. It's made to represent the childlike humor of the characters. Basically what I'm trying to say here is, the fart jokes are actually funny.
Funny.
But there's also tons of smart writing and gags in the dialogue, which makes it funny for all ages. And this film does the exact same thing. Tons of underwear, but it's made to represent George and Harold's humor. But there's also tons of gags in the background, like I said, and tons of lines from the characters, like George and Harold when they break the fourth wall, or just funny, quick lines from like Professor Poopy Pants. This film is flooded with good jokes. It's also good at respecting the books in a plot way. This is a whole new plot, but it takes elements from most of the books. Mainly the first, second, and fourth one. But it adds to it rather than take away. Most of the characters feel in character to the book counterparts. Everything is perfect and everything fits the tone. Speaking of tone, that is probably the last and most important thing about this movie. One of the most impressive things about this movie is its tone and how it manages to put its themes all together and make something beautiful. Of course, the obvious themes are childlike wonder and innocence, rather be with the funny humor or just the silliness of it being a George and Harold's point of view. But they also find a way to represent this tone in the conflict and themes. One of the most prominent themes in this movie is with the conflict of George and Harold being separated into classes. To them, it is the end of their friendship, and this film makes it very clear how much they care for one another and how much they do not want to be separated. And the film was basically their response to this. But of course, this film didn't have to deal with those themes, but they did. And the fact that they do is almost perfect. This film is already about childhood and everything, and this whole conflict is just because these guys are kids. Of course, as a kid, being separated from your best friend is the worst thing ever. It was to me when I was a kid. Basically, what I'm saying is, the film is relatable.
Oh, wow! That is relatable!
So they perfectly picked this plotline for this story, which is already goofy enough as it is. Do you see what I'm talking about? It's like a match made in heaven. You're making a Captain Underpants movie. It's perfect. So yeah, to summarize, it's faithful to the books, but it's also faithful to itself. It knows what it is and it replicates that perfectly, and does things to make that already established tone work even better for a film. However, it's only as good as the film is. So let's see how well the film manages to pull it off. So here's a part of the video where Damon watches the movie and makes a bunch of memes on top of it. So the film starts off with the voice of Kevin Hart singing to the DreamWorks logo, as all masterpieces should start. We then get a cool 2D sequence of a comic by George and Harold explaining Captain Underpants' origin. Just like the books! Also, I just gotta mention it to get it over with, the animation is beautiful. It's so stylized with designs and colors, it's fluent, the textures are cool, it's expressive, it's able to represent the mood perfectly, and it even uses different mediums such as 2D animation, also an entire scene with sock puppets.
The Insanity SMP. It's hardcore Minecraft, but everyone has unique superpowers. If you would like to join the Insanity SMP, make a video using this sound.
Basically what I'm trying to say is, it looks nice. Then meet our main characters, George Beard and Harold Hutchins. Oh, by the way, George is the one on the left with the tie and flap top, and Harold's the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now.
So good.
And then there's this guy, Mr. Krupp, who is the school principal and very mean.
Oh my goodness, did that really happen?
No.
And I'm free.
My office. No!
It then gets sent to the office and it's very scary.
That's an expensive door.
Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna be playing several clips from this movie. I'm gonna get so copyright claimed. So Mr. Krupp just hates George and Harold because of how they constantly make pranks.
So can either of you explain?
And it's been Mr. Krupp's goal to finally catch George and Harold, and that he'll get them one day very soon. I should also probably mention the voice acting in this movie. It's solid. Although played by two grown men, George and Harold have tons of chemistry and performed great by Kevin Hart and Thomas Middleditch. Mr. Krupp, who is played by Ed Helms, you know, that guy from The Office, does a great job of not only playing Mr. Krupp, but Captain Underpants too. He does such a great job. He's probably the best performance in the movie. It's even more shocking that he didn't have any roles in animated movies before this, right? Even Melvin is played well by Jordan Peele. Oh yes, that Jordan Peele. And of course, there's Professor Poopy Pants, played by Nick Kroll, who I'm gonna save for later, but let's just say he's amazing. So we basically find out why George and Harold do what they do. Because their school's a prison. Reminds me of my school. And then we meet Melvin. Son of a bitch!
Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
Shut your ass up.
We then find out that the weekend will be their annual invention convention, just like the books!
You should be done by 9 p.m.
So school ends and George and Harold go to their amazing treehouse, and we also get a sample of the film's amazing music. I also might as well say it, that the soundtrack is really good. Let's first talk about the score. It's not Oscar worthy, but I think it fits the movie perfectly. It keeps the like the treehouse theme is all childlike and wondrous. The Captain Underpants theme is goofy but triumphant enough. The score is also done by Theodore Shapiro, who also made the score of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. So you know it's a banger. But the soundtrack is also goated too. Single skip. We got the Captain Underpants theme done by Weird Al. We then got the Saturday song. We get two versions too. One of them with the cast, which is beautiful to the ears. And we get a second one, which kind of sounds like it was done at church. But hey, the cover's not always better than the original. We get a song at the end credits titled A Friend Like You by Andy Grammer. I have a lot of personal attachment to that song, and I love it very much. However, it is kind of weird. He says, "Bro, I love you, man, I love you."
Gay.
We also have the song Think, which is used twice, and it's a pretty good banger. And we also get Hallelujah, which is music to my ears. And we get the best song ever, 1812 Oh Farture. When I play that clip, it's gonna be beautiful. But yeah, that's enough I have to say about the soundtrack. Definitely better than Donda.
The fuck you say to me, you little shit?
I hope I'm not missing any songs I played in the movie. I hope there isn't a song that I'm missing that I played during a very important scene to me. Anyways, you see their treehouse and it's nice and has tons of references to the books.
The greatest superhero that we've ever created was
Morbius!
And we see how George and Harold met in kindergarten, just like in the books! And we get the best joke ever.
Uranus.
So anyways, it's Saturday, and we get the Saturday song. You know me, I listen to that every Saturday!
I love Saturday. I love Saturday.
Well, what the hell?
I can feel.
But it's all cut short as they realize they have to go to the invention convention.
Mr. Fide is no longer with us.
He's dead.
He wanted to spend Saturday with his family, so I fired him.
And Melvin then shows off his several inventions, which bores everyone. But George and Harold must stand up for this, as they will not let this stand.
Maybe we should just lay low for a while.
You're a pussy.
So while Melvin's presenting, they sabotage his Turbo Toy 2000. Hey, wait a minute, is that him? Is that the guy from the book?
Already programmed with my personal potty playlist.
The prank goes well, it does tons of goofy things. And they leave, and it feels like the film is over? Wait, what? Oh, wait a minute, no, it's not over. So yeah, George and Harold got caught by Melvin's little tattle turtle he has over here.
Extra credit, it feels so good.
What do you mean by that?
And now, Krupp has all he needs to separate George and Harold.
Your parents are obviously total failures. Because I'm going to have you two placed in separate classes.
Oh my god!
As George and Harold Harold go home, they quickly realize how bad this is for them. And we get insight on why they believe this is gonna be the worst thing that has ever happened to them, with a scene with sock puppets.
Huh?
You'll have a weird haircut.
Damn! Look at my fucking forehead!
Separate classes will lead to separate lives, which inevitably leads to robots.
This is the part of the movie where their conflict begins, which I mentioned earlier is perfect and fits well for this movie. But it's important to realize that these are kids. Of course, in real life, it's not that big of a deal. They literally live next door. I think that they'll live. But of course, these are just goofy 4th graders. So when something this serious just comes out of the blue, of course they're gonna think it's the worst thing ever. I did. Maybe me watching this movie has also made me fear the exact same things in my life. I don't know. I'm not gonna talk about my trauma on this YouTube channel, but they're not gonna let this happen, so they quickly formulate a plan to steal that turtle. So Monday comes along and things happen, and we meet a new character, Edith, the lunch lady.
Ew, you nasty ass!
They like each other.
What? I can't believe Mr. Cup got more than me.
Say my day's a number, but I keep waking up.
So yeah, Mr. Cup then leaves and George and Harold try to enter the office.
I'm over here stroking my dick.
They get inside and they look for the turtle, but then they get distracted by a cabinet of stuff Mr. Cup took from them. We then get to see the Hypno Ring. I wonder if that will be important soon. But then Mr. Cup comes in.
Is it perhaps this? Including the shower!
It all seems game over. Mr. Cup's finally gonna put them in separate classes, but George quickly thinks of an idea.
Forged from the molten plastic of Shindog, China. The Hypno Ring.
Hypnotize me?
Shockingly, the ring works, and they successfully hypnotize Mr. Cup. And in character, they do a bunch of goofy things.
Welcome to the Los Pollos Hermanos family.
But then they get a bad idea. What? No way. Is it him? No way!
Tra-la-la!
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for! That's what it's all about! This is truly cinematic history. But then things go really, really wrong.
What? He tripped and fell in the back of McDonald's?
Also, if you didn't know, Captain Underpants is an idiot. So George and Harold run to chase down Captain Underpants as he runs rampage in the town of Piqua, Ohio.
Fear not, I will set you free!
Now, wait a minute! Is that the Everything But Fabric Softener store? Yeah, goofy shenanigans happen, but they eventually stop him. Then we meet a new character. Wow, that was very scary. I wonder if he'll come back later. And we get a scene where George and Harold finally find out how they control Mr. Cup by splashing water on his face and snapping their fingers.
Ah, where are my pants?
Oh no, he's Krupp again.
They then take Mr. Cup to his house and it is very scary. It's not really that scary, it's just kinda sad. Very sad. And this doesn't really go well for George and Harold, as it almost confirms their fears that they're gonna grow up to be lifeless adults if they get put in separate classes. But then they realize they don't need to worry about any of that, because they control their principal now. They don't need to worry about anything anymore. Everything's gonna be A-okay, right? Nothing can possibly go wrong. And so, they enter the next day at school, and we get this scene. What have I done? Has me editing the scene over and over, the stupid sound effects, ruined my permanent vision of this scene forever? Have I ruined this scene for myself? Yeah. Then Mr. Cup shows up, but they don't really care. So he's Captain Underpants now. But then they quickly realize that this is gonna go terribly wrong. So they hide Mr. Cup, and they then come up with the idea that they can just quickly disguise him as Mr. Cup while not fully changing him back. so they don't have to be put in separate classes. Because having a naked man running around in the school filled with children isn't gonna go well.
I better call Saul! Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? I'm a 72 shots. I'm
We're almost there.
They then get a little scene, which is honestly a little bit too inappropriate.
Hey.
They then go to the principal's office where they find the best character. Professor Poopy Pants! We then get our introduction to Jordan himself.
I'm disguised as an elementary school principal.
And you already know, he's the best character in the movie. He has the best jokes, one of the best performances, he is just an icon. Dare I say, a Chad.
He said it! He said it!
He's a little bit evil, and that's bad.
Children must never laugh!
You're hired!
And Jordan and Harold realize that they just hired a madman for a science teacher.
Grrr.
Also, Mr. Cup is back now. So they go to class.
Hiya, class. If there was one thing about this world that you could change, what would it be?
Legalize nuclear bombs.
Oh, peace on Earth.
Unattainable.
We then find out that Professor P just wants to get rid of laughter.
Rid of laughter.
I love it.
You're a fucking loser.
And that our ability to laugh is a part of the brain called the haha caphotra calamus, which isn't accurate at all, but honestly made my brain. But it is kind of spitting. Like, look at this.
This is the ha-ha guffaw chuckleometer.
This is called what?
This is the ha-ha guffaw chuckleometer.
This is called what?
I want that toy.
But of course, George and Harold start laughing and stuff.
Oh, it's pussy.
And they make a funny joke, and Professor Poopy Pants doesn't like that.
These nuts.
What's so funny? I don't get it.
Hey look, the Average Crazy Gamer Inc. fan. And he sends them to the principal's office. Also, Captain Underpants is back now. I also realize how much he doesn't want people to know about his last name. So they get his file from the office, and they realize that his name is...
The One Piece!
Anyways, it's now lunchtime and we get some funnies.
Because I hate laughter and children, and I've got a cage in a briefcase.
Professor P walks into the cafeteria to see tons of kids laughing at him, reading a comic book.
Excuse me, could you explain to me why this is funny?
And this comic book basically docks him. And he gets a PTSD flashback, and we find out what made him turn evil. So we get the scene where he's about to receive a Nobel Prize for making this ray called the Sizerator 2000, which is basically like these things from the books. And we get a little book reference, like, look at that hot dog, that's from the book! And yeah, Professor Poopy Pants is about to earn the award, but then they realize that he has a funny name. And this is what made Professor Poopy Pants snap and made him evil.
Please accept our apology. And could you change me back now, please?
The fuck you say to me, you little shit!
Uh-oh. He now takes George and Harold to the principal, who is still Captain Underpants. And we also get to read the comic that they made, and it's amazing. Like in the books! But Professor Poopy Pants notices something. There's a kid in there that looks a lot like a kid in his class.
How to wipe out laughter on the end.
Basically now at the halfway mark of the movie. So let's go back to George and Harold. Throughout this entire part of the movie, they're able to successfully have Captain Underpants disguised as Mr. Krupp. And they are still in the same class and everything. And everything seems all nice. And they realize that they can just do whatever they want. And then we get 1812 Oh Farcher, the best song ever.
Fortnite battle pass. I just shit out my ass. In real my PC, cause I need me.
Fortnite balls, I'm gay, I like boys. I kidnap autistic kids, little most.
That's some Oscar shit right there.
I told you it was amazing. We then see Poopy Pants with Melvin in an ice cream truck, trying to figure out how he can inflict his plan.
Just scram, okay? We're closed for Ebola.
I love this movie so much. And after testing Melvin, he realizes that Melvin has no sense of humor. And he can use this to get rid of laughter on the entire planet. We then cut back to George and Harold again, using their power to open back up their school's art. And we also get this very relatable scene of drawing.
Why does it look like a chicken?
Everything seems great. But we must go back to conflict again. We all know that George and Hale can't keep this up forever. This is just a way for George and Hale just to avoid their responsibilities. They need to eventually face their consequences. So, what happens next is everything crumbling. So, there's a carnival outside. Oh my goodness, is that like in the book? If you took a shot every time I made a reference to the books, you'd be dead. Everything seems all good. But then, and we see it getting harder and harder for them to keep this charade up. And everything just gets worse and worse.
Ah! We made the wrong choice!
It gets slowly darker. It all peaks here. Starts raining. Mr. Krupp gets turned back. They can't keep the charade anymore. They are separated.
Harold! Come back!
No, wait, stop! George!
Baba. Look, I don't really like getting personal on this channel. Not really. But this scene, I feel like I kind of have to. The scene kind of means a lot to me, personally. It's kind of what it just represents. The fear of everything falling apart. People that you love moving away and feeling like you're never gonna see them again. Even if the actual situation isn't that bad and you're gonna be okay. Because that person means a lot to you. And nothing will change the love that you're having, even if you're far away. And ever since I watched this movie, this scene always spoke to me, because I feel this way a lot with people. I did a lot in elementary school, moving into middle school, and middle school moving into high school, and something I'm even feeling right now with a lot of things going on. Maybe me as a young lad took this scene and decided to devote my entire personality to it or something. But yeah. Whenever I watch this scene, I always know the personal attachment that I have to it. And I feel that way a lot now. Life is pretty difficult sometimes. It really is. But I always have hope, and I know deep down, even if I don't like to admit it, or voices in my head tell me that it's not, I know it is okay, that everything's gonna be alright. That my love for people will always thrive. People love me, and I love the people. No matter how far I am from them, it's never gonna change. That's why this scene means a lot to me. What the hell am I doing? I'm talking about the Captain Underpants movie. Sorry, I'm back. Probably didn't have an existential crisis. How far are we into the movie again? We're in the climax! Okay, so Poopy Pants has his plan. He's ready. He gets Melvin gets his Turbo Toy 3000 from earlier, and it makes it big. But he must get something to power it. So he goes into the school and gets some
Breaking Bad!
So then the Turbo Toy 2000 is wrecking havoc, and George and Harold both notice. They go to the bathroom and we see each other. But Poopy Pants is here and he's about to wipe out the humor of everyone out of that school, and we get one of the best reaction videos ever.
I don't get it. Why is that funny?
And this is very bad.
Captain Underpants eats all of his falafel.
George and Harold have to do something. What are they gonna do? Alright, baby. It's the final battle. It's panting time.
Tra-la-la! That's what the kids call epic fail.
And the battle of the century is about to happen.
Let's do this!
Freeze!
Wait.
The following sequence contains scenes that are so intense, horrific, and violent,
And expensive.
Wait,
that
no
we can
way.
only show it using a technology.
Oh my god! The Mad Lads, they did it!
No, don't pull! No!
Then the Flip-O-Ramos sadly ends, and George and Harold on top of the Turbo Toy 2000. And Melvin snitches.
George and Harold!
And yeah, Poopy Pants then sees them, and George and Harold apologizes.
I want to change mine. I'd be
Mike Beauregard.
But there's nothing funny about Professor Pee-Pee Diarrheenstein Poopy Pants Esquire.
But that doesn't go well.
Oh, really, Oprah? Is that my problem?
Then Captain Underpants dies. And now George and Harold are about to get their laughter taken away. But it's not really working for some reason. Until Poopy Pants realizes that they have a huge haha Caforcha Kalam list. But Poopy Pants just puts more power. You also get a cool little sequence of their brains trying to stay funny.
What did we used to find funny? Oh, mostly potty humor.
Baba Booey.
But it sadly isn't enough, and they get their humor taken away. Poopy Pants has won. But then Poopy Pants says a little word.
Your anus!
So they finally laugh again. Their humor is saved, and they destroy the Turbo Toy 2000.
Extra credit or survival!
Fuck you, kid. You're adopted.
And everyone's laughter is back.
Have sex!
So moral of the story, memes reign supreme!
Drop the drum! It's okay, I got that. No, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Got a pizza here.
My pussy!
Yeah, baby, and the cringe jokes reign supreme! Dankman, get the hell out of my house! But Poopy Pants ain't done yet, as he tries to shrink George and Harold down. But when all hope seems lost, the god himself returns.
Ooh, I hope you can find tiny enough pens to make your small little comic books with, cause you're about to get spoiler.
But can he be Goku? Yeah, Captain Underpants now has powers now, just like the book.
Shut up!
And then they have an epic fight.
Haha!
And of course, Captain Underpants wins the GOAT himself. Sadly, he's an idiot and he shrinks himself.
You stupid.
And he makes Poopy Pants big. Then more goofy shenanigans happen with the raid gun. Get another big
Tiny school filled with tiny children and the tiny teachers whose tiny salaries reflect their size and also the value society puts on education.
Then even more goofy shenanigans. But they eventually get everything back to normal size. And then Poopy Pants is free. He's on a bee! He's gonna get away! Ah! A bee! Get away from me!
Love of God!
So, everything's kind of come to a close. George and Harold are in their treehouse with Captain Underpants, and they're reflecting on everything they just went through for the last hour and 30 minutes. And they realize that they cannot keep this up anymore. They need to kind of grow up, and must deal with the fact that they are going to be separated. But they realize that it's going to be okay. They are best friends. Just because they're separated doesn't mean anything. They have grown and overcome their fears. Basically what I'm saying is, they had a character arc. But now, it's time for them to say goodbye to Captain Underpants. So George and Harold break the 3D Hypno Ring, believing that destroying it will get rid of Captain Underpants forever.
The Hypno Ring!
And it does. They also then realize how kind of lonely Mr. Krupp kind of feels. We've seen parts of it earlier. He's not really the happiest guy, and that's kind of why he's so. So they realize that they should probably do something for him for once. So they do one little prank. A prank for good.
For good.
They get Mr. Krupp hooked up with the lunch lady girl.
Do you want to go on a date?
Our journey to victory has begun! Death to the MPLA!
They go to the date, and it seems great. Almost everything seems to end a happy ending. Until the Turbo Toilet 2000 gets dropped off by a bunch of potties and its goo infects a bunch of other toilets, and the talking toilets run rampage. But then... oh no! The film ends with the epic battle of Captain Underpants and the talking toilets.
Here we go again!
Setting up for a sequel. Right? And then we get the end credits, which has a bunch of references to the book. Captain Underpants theme. And we even get the Marvel post-credits scene. And that is Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. I love Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, and I have now finished talking about why. Not only is it a very stylized, funny, well-made film based on a book series that means a lot to me, but is one of the best adaptations I've ever seen. A film that represents its source material by replicating its humor, its heart, art style, and story structure to a feature film flawlessly, with its themes of childhood and friendship fitting with the tone and humor. It's literally called Captain Underpants. It almost feels perfect, and I already have a great amount of attachment to it, but it holds up every time I watch it. There's always something new. There's always something to love. There's nothing I think that is bad about this movie. Is it perfect? No. Is it the best film ever? No. Is it my favorite movie? I know it sounds criminal, but no! It's not even my favorite movie of 2017. But it is very high up there. It's one of my personal favorite movies. But it is probably the movie I am most passionate about. I will always love this movie, and I hope I have enlightened you on the movie. I love this movie so much. Maybe I'm overanalyzing things, but I'm not. If you haven't seen this movie, I cannot recommend it enough. It is amazing. Go watch it. This movie is great. It is a 10 out of 10, and is probably the best film by DreamWorks. That's right, it's better than The Prince of Egypt. I love this movie so much, and I'll always be advocating for a sequel. And that is why Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, is a cinematic masterpiece. I'm done!
So I hit him in his lipstick. Saw that boy I go well, he feeling kinda thirsty. Sipping on this yellow and it really got me tipsy. Trying to get a grip and now that baby trying to grip me. Hit it with my finger, now she getting kinda sticky. Say he wanna fight, but I'll just hit him with that 50.
Huh. I hit 500 subscribers. That's cool. Donkey Kong, you cheap bitch! Oh, come on, don't look at me like I've forgotten something. Aren't you forgetting something? What? The epic tales of Captain Underpants. This video gets 1,000 views, I will rank and review every single episode of the Captain Underpants show. Do it. I hit it in a week. Hey gamers, Damon here. You know why we're here. Today we're finally going to talk about Epic Tales of Captain Underpants. Every episode, every season, every special. This is gonna take a lot out of me, as you can clearly tell, but you guys asked for it, and what a better way to celebrate 500 subscribers. After rewatching this show, I have come to the conclusion that my general thoughts have stayed exactly the same. So much so, I could literally just replay the clip of my thoughts last episode. I like it. It's not great. It's a bit too obnoxious. Some of the new characters are kind of annoying. Solid show. I don't love it. I don't have much to talk about. I give it a light, strong 7. Yeah, I didn't have much to say about this show back then. So clearly I have a lot more to talk about now. Whatever. Let's just get this over with. Oh! We have to talk about the intro! I mean, it's better than Jesus is King. It's not better than Donda. Oh, before I get started, bam! You know, I don't want to get copyright claimed again. I'm now gonna take time to talk about my general thoughts on this show. For one, I like how there's an overarching plot for each season. This one being how if George and Harold get 500 office visits, they'll get expelled. The format makes it hard to talk about each episode, however, but at least it's faithful to the books. Characters are pretty good, but nothing special. Shockingly, the best character in the show is Melvin Sneedley. He's the funniest character in the show, which is pretty hit or miss. Some jokes catch me off guard, but some are just not funny. Also, there's some new characters made for this show, and they can also be hit or miss. Some can be pretty cool, and some can get on my fucking nerves. The animation is usually alright and fits the style, but it does look pretty good at times. The Flipporamas usually are a standout. And that's pretty much it for my general thoughts. Oh wait, we're supposed to talk about the episode. So George and Harold are in PE class, but they get in trouble, and Melvin has this machine to make them buff. And after a bunch of shenanigans, Mr. Meaner turns evil and has a fat
Baba Booey.
It's fine. Mr. Meaner's a cool villain, but the setup was just too convoluted. Funny story, someone once told me to add Fabby Fabulous to top 10 chads. Fabby Fabulous for top 10 chads 5! So there's this annual school dance that's so bad and boring that even George and Harold try to get banned from it. But this time, there's DJ auditions and everybody wants to try out. Even Melvin with this robot.
Take them and let me serve you!
But it just ends up being their lame-ass school music teacher. So George and Harold try to scare her by having her think Chupacabra's gonna eat her so she can skip the school dance. But it doesn't work and she gets crashed into cars and turns evil. So she goes to the school dance to stop people from emoting. And then they fight and they play Drake and stuff. It's an improvement, but not by a lot. So you guys know homework? Yeah, that sucks. So George and Harold get an idea to go back in time with Melvin's time toad to stop homework from being invented. And it works, but then they realize that no homework equals no comics. Meanwhile, the sad teachers find George and Harold's new comic, and bada bing bada boom, they're this thing. I love the whole concept and execution of the episode. I'd love to kill the guy that made homework. Top of the list, for now. This is the Morbius episode! Morbius! Seriously, in this episode, George and Harold get called out for how girls hate their comics, and we meet this new character, Erica.
All your girl characters just cry, shop, and brush pony hair.
Hello? Base department? And who Melvin has a crush on. I know someone else who does. So George and Harold make a comic where Erica's the villain and they get hashtag cancelled. Meanwhile, Melvin tries to be the Rizzler and create a machine that will make Erica fall in love with him. And he thinks he can by just putting in funny videos. But Melvin has no sense of humor. And when he tests it out on this girl named Jessica, she turns into an emo vampire and sucks the joy out of people. And a bunch of stuff happens and the day is saved. I thought I'd hate this episode because the George and Harold tried to do a toilet paper prank on the new French teacher who Mr. Cup tries to rizz up. And Mr. Cup tries all he can to prevent her from being pranked. With help from this cool school janitor who has a very dramatic backstory. But then there's an epic fail and the teacher becomes a mummy thing. So George and Harold get help from the janitor to overcome his trauma and save the day. And he even gets the girl in the end because he just has that unspoken rizz. Y'all remember Mr. 5, that teacher that George and Harold bullied to quit his job and was replaced with the best villain of all time? Yeah, he's back. And he hates noise. Also, there's this competition where you have to grow the biggest avocado. And of course, George and Harold want to win because the winner gets free food. And Melvin wants to win because he wants to join the school, ENTIRE Academy, which is gonna be very important for later. And they get help from this kid who's very gross. But Melvin has this raid that of course goes wrong and things get very epic. And I like how dangerous it gets. And the ending is very cool with Mr. 5 becoming a ginormous tree and living in peace. So in their school, there's this kid named Bo, who everybody fears because he thinks he's like some big evil kid. And it's not helped by Melvin, who does all Krup's dirty work to join that school and makes like everyone very scared of him. But George and Harold want epic merch, and they found out that Bo is into clay. So they make a comic for people not to fear Bo, and it works, and they actually meet him, and he's pretty chill. But Melvin needs to get to that school, so he makes Bo into a ginormous clay monster and there's really cool stuff. I like this episode, the jokes are pretty funny.
Fear is our friend, and fright makes right.
Seen any good TV shows lately? Ooh, it's done.
And I love the focus on the students. Also, there's this knockoff Melvin named Gooch, the singer chick, and two Sophies that are friends with Jessica. So there's this new Spanish teacher that's kind of a loser.
I need to be fluent in 6 languages. But you're walking disappointment.
And George and Harold try to make him feel better by making a comic, but he turns into a full dream scan and tries to become a real superhero. But then he finds that this robe that he found earlier that was dumped off by aliens gave him powers, but he kind of sucks. So Melvin tries to trick him into doing stuff and the suit goes rogue and evil. And then Captain Underpants fighting and stuff, and then Melvin has his own robe, but then it goes bad and the teacher accidentally kills it. So epic! Not really. The concept of the character is cool, but the teacher's just only if another episode took this concept and made it better. I got the perfect idea! So George and Harold want to be suspended really bad because they think it will be epic. But it's way harder than they think because Krupp can see right through them.
So, you are being watched! I knew it!
They try to do epic pranks to be suspended, using a bunch of socks collected by the gym and ruining his office. But they fool around inside and Mr. Krupp's hair gel gets on a sock and then boom, giant octopus. I really like the giant octopus monster, but the whole plot is just eh. This episode is about forgetting things, which is ironic because this episode is pretty forgettable! So basically, George and Harold become what the school calls the new Ted Turdsley. And it's when you get pudding on your pants and you look like you shitted yourself. But when George and Harold are finding new clothes, this weird guy comes into school and seemingly erases everybody's memories. And you wouldn't have guessed it. It's because the guy's the original Ted Turdsley. I never would have guessed!
What took you so long?
Idiot! Yeah, it's super obvious, even for this show. He becomes the principal and tries to get rid of George and Harold, who still remember, but then they get their memories wiped, but then they just remember? They read this old comic that they made about Captain Underpants, which is also a book reference! But we never know who set that whole comic up, and it's kind of mid. And they do the same for Captain Underpants, and they fight, and it's mid, and it ends up just like the cheese touch of Diver Wimpy Kid. Pussy. Guys, I really liked this episode. No! This one's all about Mr. Krupp's origin, and what made him be so mean. They go to Mr. Krupp's mom, and they find out what made him evil. It's because he lost his talent show. So George and Harold go to Melvin's house to use the time toad.
I love you.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they go back in time to help Mr. Krupp in his epic rap battle.
Wake up, filthy.
But this backfires horribly as now Mr. Krupp is a ruler of a sweatshop. Even Melvin serves him. And the students are workers. George and Harold make them rise up with this comic. Even Melvin wants to help. I don't know, Melvin. You've been seeming sus lately. It's almost like we have an imposter among us.
So Melvin gives them a hypno ring to turn Mr. Cup back into Captain Underpants. But of course, Melvin betrays them. I never would have guessed! And takes over the company instead and beats Captain Underpants' ass. He then uses everybody's sweat to sell it or something.
Silence, chair!
But then George and Harold make a sweat Nami like the comic that they made earlier to blow up the sweatshop. They're free, but then the shop turns into a giant robot. And then Captain Underpants comes out and has stretchy powers and destroys it.
This episode is legit a banger! Definitely the best episode so far, and maybe the best episode of the show.
You are doo-doo. I am not doo-doo!
So you remember that plot line about George and Harold visiting the office too much and being expelled? Well, that's back now, and they are really close to 500. So they try whatever they can do to not get expelled. And they find out by Erica about the school superintendent, who after finding out Mr. Cup has wrote rules, he can fire Mr. Cup. So they need to get that rule book. Also, George and Harold fart a lot and make this comic.
Yeah, this episode is filled with poop jokes. Bob open!
Also, Mr. Cup grows hair. Anyways, Melvin reads that comic and he gets the perfect idea! He makes it real so he can get into that episode. But George and Harold see this and they're all like, hold up. And do epic pranks. But then the fart gets smarter and rich. And he goes rogue because he doesn't like how he's used just to make epic jokes. Anyways, Captain Underpants fights. But then the fart gets super powered, but they still beat him. Or did they? Also, Melvin gets rejected, but then a mysterious guy shows up. It's the season finale, and we find out that the guy at the end of last episode was the school superintendent. And he tells Melvin that he can get him into that school if he helps George and Harold.
Why? I don't know.
But anyways, George and Harold still need to get that book because they have to get Cup fired. After a bunch of goofy things, they find out that the rule book is in this high-tech safe house run by Hank Schrader. And even Melvin helps them because he has to. Meanwhile, there's this creature going around called the Tooth Fairy. And guess what? He's the fart guy from last episode. They all meet up.
Melvin, you have friends?
Sin City was a mavia.
They go to the safe house and go through all the deadly obstacles and make a new fart monster. But then they actually make a fart army. Did they not learn anything? And they cause havoc, making everybody fart and making them explode.
Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Writer's Poetry Disguise Fetish! Today we're taking a look at the epic tales of Captain Underpants and people get fat by farts. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, Captain Underpants saves the day and the fart guy turns good after it goes viral on the internet. He's literally me! But yeah, anyways, George and Harold now have the books to fire Mr. Krupp. But then they realize they can't do this as a poor man. This school is all that he got! So they completely apologize to him and Mr. Krupp just can't fire them. But then they realize that the rule book is actually a cookbook! And Melvin switched the books, and the superintendent is here, and he fires Krupp and expels George and Harold. And an even bigger plot twist, it turns out that he's an evil cyborg Melvin from the future, leaving a cliffhanger.
So that was season 1 of the Captain Underpants show, and it was okay. The faithful format is both a blessing and a curse, because one, it's faithful, but on the other hand, it makes every episode the most predictable ever. But it has some worth and a couple good episodes. Let's just hope it gets better from here, because this next season is all about Melvin, and you know how much I love Melvin in this show. So let's see if it gets any better.
Funny.
So the season begins with evil Melvin taking over the school, and they hope to get Melvin to his dream school. If they make Jerome Horwitz better, and realizing that teachers are dumb, they replace them with robots. Meanwhile, George and Harold need to do well in school so they can go to summer camp. And the robots are mean and just too hard.
That's what she said. Not to me though.
So they try to get Captain Underpants to defeat them, but Mr. Krupp is out on his own doing things because he was fired. So they hypnotize Mr. Meaner instead, and there's cool fight scenes and stuff.
The change in the status quo is pretty interesting, and the writing has significantly improved.
Taking us away from the children?
Yippee! We're off to a good start.
So Melvin has been fully taking over the school with new outfits and all, and even a hit theme song.
Stone Pod did.
And George and Harold hate this, and every other student. They have to find Mr. Krupp, but they find out that he went to some jungle looking for the Fountain of Youth to get his hair back. So George and Harold and a bunch of classmates team up to find Mr. Krupp, who's actually in a tourist trap. But to convince Krupp to come back to the school, they had to find the Fountain of Youth. And after a long, dangerous journey, they find out it's real and fight this big, ginormous monster. But then they feel bad and they give him his hair again, and none for Krupp. But he joins back to the school anyways.
Another banger. The setting's really nice, and there are a couple of knee slappers in this one.
Other Sophie, you look like a tree slug.
What's up, my mammal?
This one's all about bees.
You like jazz?
So Melvin tries another way to get the teachers smart by making them all listen to him with bee stuff. But then they accidentally overdose Miss Ribble and she becomes a queen bee and takes over the whole school and turns it to a whole hive by shaking her
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Writer's Poet Disguise Fetish! This time, bees shake their ass! What the f is this show?
Meanwhile, Mr. Krupp is the vice principal.
This is a solid episode that's cool and epic, but I don't know, some parts make me uncomfortable.
So remember that George and Harold want to go to summer camp? Well, they have bad grades and need to pass bad. Thankfully, they have this assignment where they have to train an animal, and they get this rat. He's very depressed, because he got no epic GF.
He clearly hasn't seen Love Advice from Damon.
But anyways, he runs off and gets mutated into Chupacabra.
What?
And boom, epic fight. And he turns good after falling in love with the real Chupacabra. And Melvin has a monkey!
Judy?
Don't you know I'm still standing?
It's Judy! That's my step!
Man, this season is off to a great start. I hope there isn't a bad episode soon. I hate this episode. I hate it so much. I can't do it. I can't do it!
Let's do it!
I can't.
Let's do it!
I can't.
Let's do it!
So like last episode, George and Harold need good grades. But they have assignment about dinosaurs. So they make a comic where dinos are cool and rad. But that's not true.
That's right.
So they use
We're
Melvin's
going back in time to the first Thanksgiving.
As Melvin's also defrosting a dinosaur and is definitely gonna win. But it doesn't go well because, well... But they drop their comic and bam, cool dinos are real. Melvin's dino defrost and it's this guy.
The most annoying ever!
Diddley is an epic prankster, but he's just too devious. Then they try to stop Diddley. It goes all over the place with other dinosaurs that hate Diddley coming back to life too. But then they're the villains of the episode, and we have to root for Diddley, and he gets away, and he comes back, and they win?
It's so bad. It doesn't make sense. This episode is a disgrace to Captain Underpants. It can only get better from here. Guys! It's Venom! So remember that episode from a while back that had the cool concept but lame execution, and I said how I wish it was done better? Well, this is that episode!
So Captain Underpants is framed by this guy who looks just like him. He's also a rogue, and Captain Underpants gets arrested. So they try to prove his innocence, but find out that the janitor is possessed by the rogue, which was foreshadowed earlier.
Like Venom!
And he's going to take over the world with these robe cloths that makes robes up. And also there's this robe con that he's gonna ruin. Anyway, George and Harold got Captain Underpants free from trial.
This reminds me of that time I went to trial. Hey, you wanna know who would have loved this episode? Dankman! Oh yeah, he died. How could I forget?
And then there's an epic fight. Also, there's a funny side plot where Melvin wants to join this rogue society.
Giuseppe! You pricked me again!
Fun fact, you know that show I created on my channel called The Sketch People? And that character I made named Giuseppe? Well, this is the episode where I thought of his name. Yep. But yeah, we just went from probably the worst episode to probably the best episode!
So this one's all about recess, and Melvin gets rid of it, and he does it by making this creature called the Crocobats. George and Harold take them to the past or something. And George and Harold have the funny idea to make butterflies.
I don't get it. Why is that funny?
But it goes wrong and they're trapped in the school, and the students hate them. Also, Cyborg Melvin and Mr. Krupp are together.
Gay.
And then they fight and win, and we learn why Melvin's a cyborg.
Was that the bite of 80s?
I kinda like the plot, but I also kinda don't like the episode.
So this is another episode about Erica, who helps George and Harold to make a new comic, Plungerina. But she thinks she's better than the GOAT, Captain Underpants.
But can she beat Goku? I don't think so.
Anyways, George and Harold try to see if she's better. But they also realize that Mr. Cup is out of town with Melvin. They accidentally make a monster, but then they see a real Plungerina.
Oh, badass!
But when finding out who she is, they make another monster and bam, terrorism. And then Erica's Plungerina.
Holy sh! I called!
And boom, fight's over. That was epic! So after realizing Mr. Cup has been transferred to a new school, they get transfers as well, because rules are getting more strict here. So they go to the new school, and it's basically a bizarre version of the old school, but everyone's smart now. And Mr. Meaner is very buff and strong. And then they try to make things fun and teach the Bizarros how to do pranks. But one thing leads to another, and boom, Mr. Meaner is like Fabby Fabulous from the first episode, but smart. And they save the day and stuff. The school burns down or something.
This concept seems awfully familiar. I wonder where I've heard this one before.
So George and Harold are gonna go on this super boring field trip to this place about Rome or something. So they gaslight Melvin to creating another time machine to take their whole class back in time to ancient Rome. And it's very cool and epic. Look, they're locked in prison. And in a gladiator fight after saying a racial slur to Julius Caesar. Oh, also, the time machine power thing broke. And the only way to fix it is this ruby that Julius Caesar has. So after an epic battle, they get to the luxury arena. Then Little Caesar's Pizza reads a comic George and Harold made about him, and he gets very mad. And bada bing, bada boom, they're home.
Who joined the writing room? Who's making good episodes?
So there's this holiday called Dump Day where you make a big mess, and of course if you win, you get extra credit. So as George and Harold plan to make a trash-a-lanch,
you want to know who wants to keep them from getting extra credit so they don't go to Elite Naughty Academy? The Melvins.
The Melvins make the scene to get rid of all the trash, but all the trash goes to another realm where this guy lives and had his life ruined by trash, so boom, bad guy. And then redemption arc and stuff, and it's over. Also, the school denies Melvin but likes George and Harold instead.
What will happen next?
So it's the finale, and Melvin really doesn't want George and Harold to get to Elita Nadi, but they just want to go to summer camp. But then they do a little trolling, and he gets scared. But Cyborg Melvin says he has a plan, which is to recreate this dome based off a comic that George and Harold made. But Melvin puts nanobots in him, so he does well. Yeah, they go through it and stuff happens.
It's like Squid Game!
Using the Squid Game, home St. John from the Squid Game.
And there's
pizza. Hey, yo, the pizza here.
And George and Harold find out about the nano machines, son! And turn them all the way up, and boom, giant Melvin. Then they sort out their differences, but it's too late, and the nano machines trap them inside the dome.
The only negative is that Diddley's in it.
So after the last episode, the gang is having a hard time surviving, and conflict arises when Melvin really hates his future self. But then they get the nanomachines out of the dome. But then they affect Captain Underpants! But it doesn't take fully control over his brain. So anyways, George and Harold get an idea to get inside his brain and beat the nanobots by playing this super annoying song that Captain Underpants has in his head.
The definition of insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change.
Then they meet the big nano leader, and they're about to lose. But then they get super tiny and play music in his brain, and then boom, they win!
Stone Pod did. Go Stone Pod on the track, you know I got that Zaza. What do you bring on a picnic, pussy, Steve? Oh my god, it's up there!
And Melvin has had enough of his future self, and boom, he's dead. And they're about to sign up for the school, but then Erica signs it instead. Now George and Harold are gonna go to camp, but they're not at the same camp!
Damn!
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I really like this season. I don't think there was a single bad episode in the bunch. Oh, wait a minute. It's not the most amazing thing ever, but it is shockingly a good improvement. Let's just hope it keeps this level of quality. And we're only halfway done!
So it's summer camping time. But like last season, they're in 2 different camps! This was done because Mr. Krupp is stupid. And also because he wants them to be enemies.
But that would never happen.
But then it does, and conflict arises when they make a new comic with other people!
Gay.
And they go to war, creating monsters that of course go bad and destroy the camp. But hey, after an epic fight, George and Harold now hate each other. Or do they? Yeah, it was an epic prank, but then Melvin snitches, that son of a bitch!
I like the new setting and the conflict is cool.
So Mr. Krupp wants this thing called the Leisure Myland. And he wants the kids out of the way, so he sends them on a nature walk. And because Melvin's a little pussy, he makes a ray that makes animals evil. So they make this possum to have a big brain so they can scare Krupp away and be together. Because Krupp is terrified of possums. But he doesn't want to be some random ass trash eating animal. So he rises up, and so Captain Underpants comes and saves the day. But instead of taking away their intelligence, they let them keep it, earning their respect. He judged George and Harold a favor and made Krupp get rid of the wall, so boom, same camp.
Good episode, but I'm not really a furry. Also, I'm gonna take this time to talk about my cat. Yeah, I got a cat, guys.
Huh?
This is Piper. You can also name her Big Pooh.
Allow me to receive a mint.
Allow me to receive one as well.
Let me obtain one as well.
Splendid. Jolly good show.
What the dog doing?
So George and Harold have to climb this mountain to win this box, but it's very mysterious. And some guy disappeared once climbing it. By a monster! Also, Melvin and company is also racing, and it's kinda funny. But then they actually meet the monster, and it's actually some guy who climbed the mountain years ago. And he has his backstory and problems and stuff. So George and Harold have to resolve his problems, and they get a flag, but it goes wrong, and boom, bad guy and fight and stuff.
I'm not the biggest fan of this episode. I don't know. I don't care about this stupid man and this stupid mountain and his stupid family. I don't like it. At least Melvin's funny.
Stupidity!
So after George and Harold do an epic prank, Mr. Krupp sends people off to do scavenger hunts for him. And he thinks he's being used by George and Harold, even though he's using them or something.
Send me your dick pic.
He asks them to get the creature that they made. Some chicken thing that'll make you barf rainbows, but I guess it's real somehow. But Melvin makes a thing too and goes mad and stuff, and then they fall in love. I don't know what's going on in this one.
Can you tell I don't like how this episode is all over the place?
So basically, Krupp wants to buy this cool thing, so he tricks the kids into doing arts and crafts so he can sell them. Meanwhile, George and Harold dream of their
Let's go bowling!
And how it's not this summer camp. Also, they make a comic. Melvin does a thing that I kind of forgot, to be honest. Then boom, the kids are in a world all about their dreams, which is a really cool idea. But of course Melvin hates it, and the only way to get out is if George and Harold want to, which of course they don't. So, Big Bad Melvin Monster and Big Robo Captain Underpants have to stop it. And of course they realize that their camp is good enough, even though it's not.
Damn! I forgot the show was good at making episodes!
This is like George Orwell's book, 1984.
So in this episode, the camp has to do a competition with the super rich camp, and they have to win by this boat competition. But of course, they don't have the money to beat them, and have to find out of other ways to beat them. And they have to win because Krupp hates the rich. And of course, wacky shenanigans happen. Also, Krupp is scared of salamanders, and a salamander from earlier in the episode comes back and blows shit up.
Odd choice, copying the plot from Fred 3 Camp Fred.
You stupid.
So this episode, the campers get a super cool guy who can do paintball and kind of gaslight him to hating rules because rules are dumb. Meanwhile, Mr. Ree is fixing plumbing in the camp using a serum that he made. But all the toilets clog, and when paintball guy uses the bathroom, boom, bad guy. And he uses powers to turn kids into rule breakers that love lean. And also we find out that the paintball guy is Mr. Ree's brother! And after fighting and stuff, he realizes that no rules is bad, and boom, episode over.
You're not gonna shoot a puppy, are you, Jack?
Yeah, in the face. Why?
This episode is pretty boring!
So they go camping and they want to do cool stuff, but they can't see anything cool. Not even Bigfoot. And Mr. Meaner is boring everybody like me right now. While Melvin is entertained with this thing that he's making. But Mr. Meaner reads a comic and finds the machine that Melvin made, and then boom, villain and stuff. And bores everyone to stone, and then bam, fight and they win!
I barely remember what happened in this episode. And I just watched it!
So it's campfire story time, and George and Harold have a lot of pressure to create the best story ever made ever. So they take this old campfire story about this ghost dentist lady, and they do an epic prank on Melvin and Krupp. But they quickly find out that it was an epic prank, and they make a real ghost dentist lady, and she causes problems as she's making people get good teeth. But she just wants kids to have good hygiene and to floss.
I like the vibe and stuff. But I'm gonna take time to talk about how much I hate the dentist. I hate when they go in my face and go all... At this point, my mental health was down the drain. So, I don't really know if this episode was actually really good or I'm just going insane.
So everyone's trapped inside because it's raining. And also people made fun of Melvin earlier. So he's on a quest to get everybody's DNA samples to clone them.
Keep in my locket.
Meanwhile, everyone's playing a game of Plot Potato, where it's kind of like telephone and has different animation styles.
I am Adolf!
But they have an unsatisfying ending, so they go to get Melvin, but he's super mad, and then boom, weird monster, and then there's an epic chase, and then boom, dead, and boom, ending. This one's funnier than it had any right to be.
Because no one listens. Your barber butchered you, Melvin.
So the summer's almost over, and Mr. Krupp has to file a report of how the summer was to the funk, or else he won't be able to be counselor for next year. But of course he lies about the reports, but when George and Harold try to do justice, Melvin keeps them trapped into this ginormous laser monster thing. So they instruct Melvin to get out.
Ah, the Rizzler!
And of course, they outwit. Then it turns bad, and then boom, the most epic fight ever in chase as they try to stop Krupp from submitting the files. And of course it goes bad and Krupp is fired. And Melvin...
Wanna dance? Melvin?
Yes!
So you can tell everybody.
Also, the camp gets blown up. So everyone's parents are coming over to see if they would sign their kids up for next year. But Krupp actually fixed the camp and is making it look nice and do better with the parents. But George and Harold knows it's just a front, especially Melvin, because he wants to go to space camp and does not want to go here. So it makes a monster created by George and Harold to terrorize people, because then they won't sign them up. But Mr. Krupp promises them epic stuff that they can't resist. But yeah, Melvin makes the thing anyways, and then boom, evil monster. And Captain Underpants eats sugar and goes sicko mode!
Straight up!
And then boom, destroyed. And everything seems good, but Mr. Krupp admits it was a front! Oh no! So it's the last day of summer camp, and there's going to be a talent show, because there's this movie star that's coming called Lee Dickman.
He's certainly a good actor.
But yeah, and George and Harold are gonna make this play based off all their adventures that they've had. But of course Melvin is plotting his revenge and takes over the play, turning them all real. In one cool flip-o-rama later, they win, and Melvin is publicly humiliated. Also, George and Harold have been hoping to impress this rich guy from earlier, so he can buy the camp. And he does, but they realize how oddly great their summer is. So even with Mr. Krupp fired, they had a great summer, and Krupp gets his leisure myland. And that was the end of the season.
I've been here forever. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I think I'm seeing things! He's real! Alright, seriously though, that was a pretty good season. Not as good as the last one, but definitely better than the first one. Some of the middle episodes kind of dragged it down, but it stuck the landing. Writing has really gotten better over the years. Or my mind has been utterly broken. I can't tell anymore.
It's Halloween!
It's February.
And
Almost
everybody
time
loves
for
Halloween. Except for Melvin and Mr. Cup. And they're trying to ban Halloween forever. And most parents seem to agree. Because it's a big hassle and a waste of money. And after a conference, they get Halloween banned. But the kids won't stand up for this. So they get help from this owner of the Spirit Halloween knockoff. And they have adults come in and convince them to change their minds. But it goes wrong and Melvin brings a ray gun that makes decorations real and stuff happens. And Cap saves the day, but he makes Halloween illegal. But George and Harold make up a knockoff Halloween night. Melvin finds out and turns these things into real monsters. But George and Harold find out the reason why Melvin hates Halloween was because he was never invited to go with anyone. So they invite him, and he has a change of heart, and he helps George and Harold save the day.
It's pretty mid. This special has double the length of an average episode, and it really just feels like they crammed 2 episodes together. Overall, not as good as Spooky the Square Pumpkin.
How about another joke, Murray?
This is an interactive special. You know what that means? This is probably the closest I've ever gotten to talking about a video game on my channel. Time to become the crazy gamer I was always meant to be. This reminds me a lot of the Henry Stickmin games, but instead of being really fun and really interesting choices, this is not really interesting and not funny.
The plot is very simple. Mr. Cup and Melvin tried to take down George and Harold's treehouse, and you have to save it. None of the choices really mean much though. Most choices don't change anything and will get the same results. The big one though is halfway when you need to pick on how you need to make money with a TV show or look for treasure. But you both end up in Krup's office at the end. And then the story continues and there's a fight. But there's another big choice where you either get the treehouse destroyed, but it's okay as they realize that they never needed it to have fun, but then they get a new one anyways. Or you get a cool mecha treehouse mech. It doesn't really matter if you pick the TV show or the treasure. The adventure is more fitting for the story as you go back to a dump from earlier, but the TV part was funnier.
Honestly, talking about this just makes me want to play the Henry Stickmin collection. Okay guys, we're back to actual episodes now, and this mini season is in space! I don't know how far I've fallen, but I found this episode pretty funny.
So basically George and Harold convinced Poopsie,
oh my goodness, that's a book reference!
to take the school into
Baba Booey.
space.
What? There's no way this could ever go wrong.
And there's super cool space shenanigans. Also this pilot lady who I guess has history with Mr. Cup. Anyways, they see this space station that's abandoned and with this old space guy. As there's a rogue toilet on the loose. But when they investigate,
Out the cap.
even after goofy stuff, there's a toilet that actually becomes a real evil toilet. Also the space guy shows up and he lied! But why? Anyways, Captain Underpants sacrifices himself.
I like this episode, it's pretty funny.
Beautiful morning.
And the toilet was pretty cool, even though he's just a version Turbo Toilet 2000.
So basically we find out the reason why they're in space is because Poopsie wants them to get artifacts from them. And who better than children? And the captain is going to turn the ship around. So George and Harold try to convince her not to. But also a satellite that powers internet gets knocked out, so they gotta go check it out. But of course, only children can fit in there. So the kids go in and boom, an evil monster guy. But they think he's pretty chill even after they just
Baba Booey.
But then they kidnap Melvin and boom! Set up for next episode.
This summary makes the episode look worse than it is, but honestly was saved by Melvin and his epic rap battle of history!
Check it out, yo, I'm up in the ass, y'all. Good for checkers, but I'm playing chess. This is so simple, I can fix it in my sleep, and all you jokers be left in that heat. Everyone tease on the best around. I'm playing small, y'all more renowned. Look at my name, it's a proper noun. Space show, down, down, down.
So they're gonna go get Melvin. Because it's super long, everyone's in hypersleep. But of course, Mr. Cup wakes up early, and he's living it as the captain. but he needs children to bully, so he wakes up George and Harold too. And they do stuff, but then they notice weird noises in the ship. And after a while, they see that's one of the singer's side character students possessed by a space ghost or something.
Good morning.
I don't know. It never really explains. And of course, they fight it and then boom, episode over.
Such a filler episode. Nothing happened.
You have to stop eating plutonium.
Oh, I want to, Doc, but I can't.
Pussy.
So they crash land on this planet that's like an alternate version of Earth, and kids are in charge instead of adults.
Why are you blue?
And this seems cool and all, but then the kids seem a little bit sus. And they are, because adults are literally in slavery. They try to stop the evil Captain Underpants.
These nuts!
And also evil George and Harold. And also sharks.
Catch me!
So they're getting ready to save Melvin by having the Misfarts team up once again to just and sneak into the planet that Melvin's captured in. But once they get in, they find out that Melvin is now evil. He plans to start an alien invasion to where he be the greatest mind of all time.
Get a load of this guy. He really thinks he's him.
They have to take Melvin by force. But even after escaping, they can't escape them. And it ends on a cliffhanger for the finale.
I want off this show.
Tell me about it.
Me too! I have been here for hours!
So they are enslaved, but then they escape and get back to the ship and are going to fight against the alien armada, but no one believes them. But they go anyways in a space treehouse. Even Captain Underpants helps. They still seem to lose though. Also, Melvin gets backstabbed. But when all hope seems lost, people come and save them.
This is truly better than the Rise of Skywalker.
But then they go back to Earth or something and what the hell? There's a Melvin universe?
You maniac!
But they just do a Family Guy throwaway gag and then boom, the Earth is better.
Can you hear me?
What the dog?
We only have one episode left! Yes, 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 yes! And we end things off with the Christmas special. And even if it's not better than Elmo's Christmas Countdown, it's a good rep to the show, I guess.
So basically, George and Harold have an idea about Blissmas, which is basically cooler Christmas. But it's absolutely
excuse me, what the actual
But George and Harold decide to go back in time when Santa made Christmas. And they meet Santa and change his mind to create Blissmas. And it works, but it's pretty bad. And Santa's super jacked. And they had to win this epic fight to change his mind on Christmas. And it's super epic, and after defeating giant robots Melvin made, they win and realizing the value of Christmas.
Way better than the Halloween special. Like they actually had a good plot to fill up 45 minutes. And that was the epic tales of Captain Underpants. I'm done. I'm done! Hey, did you just skip to this part without watching the whole video? May God have mercy on your soul. Oh, wait, you actually watched the full thing? Wow, that means a lot. I worked really hard on this. Did you know only 50% of my viewers are actually subscribed? Alright, let's quickly rank every episode. The dastardly deed of the devious Diddlysaurus. The abysmal alteraction of the abominable Alphatooth. The frenzied farts of Fabby Fabulous. The bad beat of the Blobborlock. The hazardous hysteria of the hangry Hypno-Singer. The flushing mindless woe of the flushable Memory Wipes. Bizarre bout of the beastie Barfulus. The interactive insanity of the irritating Interlopers. The heartbreaking havoc of the haunting Halloween. The dreadful debacle of DJ Drowsy Drawers. Strange strife of the smelly Soctopus, the jarring jerkness of Judge Jorts, the troublesome treachery of the thieving Toot Fairy, the bizarre berserking of the bothersome Butterflies, the trashy tale of the tumbleless Tubadum, the sickening fumes of Smartsy Fartsy, the texting villainy of the vile Vampire, the savage spite of the Sally Salamander, the abandoned artifact of the Abancity Aliens, the extreme exploits of the explosive Xmas, the confusing crisis of the conniving Captive, the aggravated assault of the alien armada, the gunning combat of the convert camouflage, the ghastly danger of the ghost dentist, the harmful horrors of the howling hive school, the squishy predicament of Stanley Pete's stinky pits, the angry abnormal atrocities of the astute animal aggressors, the ludicrous lunacy of the loopy laser lightmare, the terrifying perilous misfortune of the TP mummy, the worrisome wedge of the water warmongers, the costly conundrum of the catalyst clay losses, the tenuous takedown of the tyrannical teachertrons, the confounding concoction of the crooked Komoboto, the shocking showdown of the staggering serene changer, the disturbing dilemma of the dysfunctional doppelgangers, the preposterous pulverizing of the pestering Pupacabra, the taxing trauma of the Tetris Tattle Trials Part 1, the horrible hostilities of the Homework Hydra, the problematic problemdrum of the punishing Plungerina, the monstrous mayhem of the massive Leviathan, the senseless torment of the space toilet, the crazy causatic spray of the contagious Crulius Caesar, the pulverizing plight of the plightless perpetrators, the frantic fury of the fearsome Hercules, the bombastic blathering of brainy Babulus, the taxing trauma of the Tetris Time Trials Part 2, the shadowy syndrome of the sinister Splotch, and number 1, the soggy salvation of the swirling sweat Nami. Well, I'm done. You know, this journey was an interesting one. Why did I do this? This is the first time on my channel where I have actually talked about something that I didn't feel a lot of passion for. But yet I did it anyways. Because, well, I made a promise. And hey, it's a nice wrap up to the trilogy. But doing this felt like a drag. Almost every episode felt the exact same. Inconsistent quality. And overall it just felt like if the movie was made by people who didn't care about it as much. It is a perfectly fine 7 out of 10. And this stands as the only piece of Captain Underpants media that I wouldn't defend. Watching all these episodes made me go insane. Having me screen record every episode made me go insane. Writing the scripts and recording made me go insane. And I can bet all my money that editing this made me go insane. But I did it because I love Captain Underpants. It means so much to me. Making these videos grew my channel and helped me discover who I was as a person. I'm so proud of myself and how much I've grown, and I have no one more to thank than Dav Pilkey and Captain Underpants. But I'm done. I talked about every book. I talked about all the movies. I talked about the show. The only time I'll come back to this subject is whenever the Dogman movie comes out, where I will quickly rank every Dogman.
What the dog doing?
So unless this series gets revived, or they make Captain Underpants 2, please, I'm begging you! This is it. Thank you for watching. I'm done.
Baba Booey.